Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. I always appreciate you guys hanging out with me for a little bit. I am Orlando Ruiz Jr. Welcome to another classic movie review. Back in 1978, Warner Brothers Pictures and director Richard Donner made a whole generation and subsequent generations of movie fans believe that a man could fly on the big screen. And then 1981 happened, and we got one of the best sequels of the 80s. Naturally, I am talking about Superman the movie and Superman 2. Now we're getting into uh, a dip in quality, the beginning of the end, really, for the Man of Steel franchise, the OG franchise, that is. Of course, as the thumbnail suggests, I am talking about Superman 3 from 1983 from director Richard Lester, who directed The Three Musketeers, Robin and Marion, A Hard Day's Night. So this guy could make a good movie or a good documentary movie, but a Superman movie, that's definitely debatable. Once again, you got Christopher Reeve coming back playing the Man of Steel, the role he was born to play. Maybe the greatest actor to put on the red boots and red cape and play Superman. In terms of performance, in terms of the way he carried himself, the guy will always be Kal-El, Clark Kent, Superman for, I know, an entire generation of movie fans. And uh, you also have Margot Kidder coming back as our Lois Lane. Jackie Cooper is back from the first two movies as our Perry White. Also returning from the first two movies, our Jimmy Olsen. Mark McClure, who also appears in Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3 as Marty McFly's older brother. But you also have some newcomers this time around to the franchise. You have actress Annette O'Toole coming in as Lana Lang. Annette O'Toole, the original Beverly Marsh in the 1990 Stephen King's It miniseries. You also have Richard Pryor as Gus Gorman. In this third theatrical Superman film, the story takes us from Metropolis back to Smallville, where Clark Kent has decided he is going to do his story on his high school reunion, and while there, rekindles an old romance with his old high school crush, Lana Lang, whose character was in the first movie for a bit in the Smallville scenes, played by a different actress. But yeah, Annette O'Toole is a very good Lana Lang in this movie. And while Clark slash Superman is a bit distracted over in Smallville, meanwhile back in Metropolis, Gus Gorman, Richard Pryor, who is not bad with computers, decides he's going to siphon a bit of money from his job into his own pockets, where his boss does find out, and he's played by Robert Vaughn as Ross Webster, who is basically Walmart Lex Luthor. Like Lex Luthor, Robert Vaughn's character Ross has a bit of a grudge against Superman, and eventually, after discovering one of his employees, Gus Gorman, is a computer whiz, he basically recruits Gus and forms a plan to reproduce kryptonite in order to use it against Superman, but it doesn't have the effect that he thought it would. It just kind of makes Superman into a total asshole. And that's pretty much the plot of this movie. There are some decent action set pieces and some good quality effects from this era. And also, well, mainly Christopher Reeve is the main attraction here. His performance as Clark Kent, Kal-El, Superman, it's the main thing that really holds it together somewhat. Because overall, the movie is way too overly slapsticky, way too overly comedic, which really brings it more into camp territory, and not really in the good way or like the fun way, but in a way that's just kind of baffling. You'd think by having Richard Pryor in this movie that there would be some legit funny stuff going on in this movie, but no, not really. And it's not really Richard Pryor's fault. It's the material he's given. The material is just really bad, and there is one moment in the movie that could have been legit funny where Richard Pryor impersonates a general, and it just really feels like bad improv. It really is unfortunate because as a follow-up to 1981's Superman 2, which was a good movie, this movie really just kind of pales in comparison. And Christopher Reeve, his Superman deserved better. He was a great Superman. They should have written a great Superman sequel for him. But again, you can't really fault Christopher Reeve. He came in and did his thing and really kind of knocked it out of the park, especially in the scene where Clark has a bit of a scuffle with himself in the junkyard. Superman versus Superman, basically. And that is one of the most memorable scenes in any comic book movie. And so it's kind of interesting how, even in a bad movie, there are moments, there are hints of a good movie in there somewhere. There's a really good moment where Superman has to save this power plant that's going to explode. This volatile chemical is about to like pop. And so he freezes a lake and picks it up. But there are too many things that happen in this movie that are just unexplainable and just kind of stupid. Like Gus Gorman, Richard Pryor's character, falling off of the top of a very tall building in Metropolis to land on his feet. I know he's wearing skis, and so he kind of skis down the building a bit and then falls quite a bit. But it's a long ass drop. The kind of drop that would shatter your legs, shatter your body to that point. Turning Superman into an asshole by exposing him to kryptonite that wasn't quite kryptonite, but kind of kryptonite, is such a weird story device, especially after you consider what they have Superman doing in this movie. He's not even all that bad. He's just kind of petty. He's super petty, basically. From something kind of major like causing a massive oil spill in the ocean to very small, petty stuff like flicking shot glasses with his finger around a bar and just kind of trashing a bar, to hooking up with the villain's gun mall on top of the Statue of Liberty. From all that, and then going into just pushing the Leaning Tower of Pisa and straightening it out. Yeah, I mean, they were just trying to think of anything they could have Superman do to show the audience that he has lost his way or whatever. But the way they go about it, it's very, very comedic to the point where it's inadvertently funny. I gotta say, I think this is one of those prime examples where you have a movie where you have a good cast with good actors, but when it comes to what's going on behind the camera, when it comes to the directing, when it comes to the script, it was just very, very ill advised, some of the choices they went with. And I know that some of that stuff might have been for budgetary reasons or whatever, for whatever reason why they couldn't do a full blown Brainiac character, or give us a version of Robert Vaughn's character that wasn't just some third rate Lex Luthor, to the Gus Gorman character really kind of overdoing it in a lot of his scenes with Richard Pryor. It was just a misguided production all the way through. And sadly enough, as bad as this movie is, it's still not even as bad as the one that would come out just 5 years later in 1987, with Superman 4: The Quest for Peace being one of the worst god awful pieces of shit movies ever made. But we'll get to that one someday. But for now, that is my review of 1983's Superman 3. 1.5 stars. It really is a damn shame that this wasn't a good movie. At least it is kind of semi-watchable for all the Christopher Reeve stuff. And, if you're into camp, if you're into, wacky, over-the-top, goofy, slapsticky stuff, then maybe Superman 3 will be the kind of thing that's up your alley. And if you're a Richard Pryor fan and if you want to just check out anything that the guy was in, then, here's one to check out. But yeah, either way, it's part of our Superman history and must be acknowledged. Superman 3 from 1983. Definitely not the best, not the worst either, but still one of the crappy ones. Thank you guys very much for watching this classic movie review. I always appreciate it. If you're into the classics, if you're into movies, if you're into this kind of thing, if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications for more reviews from me coming out soon. If you are a returning viewer, I thank you for your support and your views. It's always appreciated. Please don't forget to comment, share, like, it always helps. And I'll see you guys on the next classic movie review. Everybody, please take care of each other. Till next time, peace out. God bless.